Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are getting into a world that is just absolute epic. We're talking about sacrifice, the fundamental nature of power, and what happens when an entire age of magic just begins to die.
We are, and we're pulling this directly from some really dense and, frankly, tumultuous source material, mostly from R.A. Salvatore's Demon Wars series. These events are nothing short of world-shattering.
Yeah, it's a moment of profound transition. It's the end of one entire era,
Yeah.
and it forces everyone who survives into a reality that is just completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission today is to really unpack the immediate, almost brutal consequences of a war that was supposed to bring peace. But, it didn't. Instead, it just kicks off this desperate, immediate quest for vengeance.
And we're going to be looking at the interwoven fates of all these surviving heroes. You've got the half-elf, the witch, the enraged ranger.
And this terrifying resurgence of a creature is like half in the realm of death. It's incredible stuff. But underneath it all is this chilling reality that the very source of magic in the universe is getting weaker by the day.
It's high fantasy, but with this really surprising, nuanced look at the devastating cost of what it means to actually win.
Okay, so let's set the stage. Where are we exactly when this story kicks off?
We are in Ynis Aielle, and we are in the immediate wake of what the sources call the most vicious conflict Ynis Aielle had ever known.
Wow.
The landscape isn't just politically unstable, it's physically scarred. And the biggest symbols of that trauma are the 4 locations where the great magical bridges of Calva were just destroyed. Thalasi's, Istal's, Brielle's, and Ardaz's.
And we have to be clear here, these aren't just, stone bridges. These were symbols of the entire age of magic.
Exactly. They were named after the 4 great wizards. They were these marvelous magical constructions meant to be everlasting. The idea was they would last until the end of time.
So their collapse isn't just cutting off a trade route. It's a psychological wound to the whole world. It shatters the trust that magic could, hold everything together.
That's the perfect way to put it. When these symbols of magical permanence fall, it confirms that the basic rules of the universe have been broken, the whole structure is degrading, and the survivors, they can feel it. The stakes could not be higher.
Okay, so let's start unpacking this by looking at the leadership trying to hold it all together. Let's talk about King Benedor of Calva.
Right, so the sources paint this picture of him as just genuinely haggard. He's weighed down, sitting in his saddle like a man decades older than he actually is.
Which is completely understandable given what he's just been through.
But his determination it's formidable. Even with the fields soaked in blood, his immediate goal is purely pragmatic. He wants to reconstruct the southernmost bridge, Istal's.
Why that one specifically?
Because he needs to get his army across the river near ending. It's this metaphorical point of no return. He has to finish off what's left of Morgan Thalasi's forces and make the Black Warlock pay for all the horror he brought.
So it's vengeance, but it's disguised as logistics.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating is how his personal history reinforces this. He wasn't some soft noble. The sources tell us he was secretly raised in Avalon, the magical sanctuary.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, under the protection of Beleriand, the Lord of the Rangers. And he was trained in fighting by Beleriand's own son, Belexus, who is revered as perhaps the greatest warrior in all the world.
So he's got the pedigree. He's a warrior king, not just a politician.
Right. It gives him the moral authority and the stamina to lead this completely exhausted army. But that weight, especially the symbolic fall of the 4 bridges, it's really on his soul. He's described as constantly looking at the jagged spur of Thalasi's bridge.
And remembering how it fell.
Yes, and how it fell is key. It was taken down by the silver mage, Ardaz, who was fighting a horrid wraith. So that memory isn't just grief, it's this chilling piece of foreshadowing that tells us that wraith is still out there.
A major unresolved threat. So while the king is focused on bridges and armies, the more immediate personal conflict is really revolving around 2 other key survivors, right?
Mm-hmm. Rhiannon the witch and Bryan of Corning, the half-elf swordsman.
And they are just caught in this nexus of immediate danger, deep grief, and this burgeoning, really complicated love story.
Bryan is the epitome of the skilled warrior. He's got that elven grace, human tenacity, and Rhiannon is instantly recognizable. Raven black hair, those crystal blue eyes, and that diamond wizard mark on her forehead.
They ran together after that huge magical fight for the bridges, and the sources say Bryan's feelings had evolved into something deeper and more special. He's all in.
He is. But Rhiannon is just. She's emotionally paralyzed. She's consumed by grief for Andivar, the Ranger of Avalon, who was slain by that same wraith.
Her love.
Her love, her friend, and that wound, the injustice of it, it's just impossible for her to heal so soon. It creates this profound block. She can't fully return Bryan's feelings.
And we see this play out immediately when they run into a Talon band.
Right, those hideous creatures from Thalasi's army. Mottled green skin, sloping foreheads, pointy yellow teeth. This little skirmish is so important because it shows us their skills, but it also introduces the fatal flaw of this new world.
The sources get really visceral here. Rhiannon uses what little power she has left to call on a dozen cougars to ambush them.
Yeah, it's subtle, tactical magic. She's not throwing fireballs. She's relying on natural allies because she knows the Talons are, as the text says, neither very bright nor very brave.
And Bryan, meanwhile, is just on another level. He's an archer and a swordsman. We get that amazing detail where he shoots an arrow and it deflects an incoming axe blade.
Blocks it as surely as if it had hit a stone wall. That's not luck. That is pure practice precision.
And then he pulls out his father's elven-crafted sword and just goes to work. So much agility. Drops to one knee, scores this wicked hit.
He even thinks to himself afterward that the fight was too easy, which tells you so much about his mindset. There's this simmering rage in him, this desire for combat that really matches the king's determination.
But this small victory leads directly to the first major warning sign about the state of the world.
It does. Bryan finds Rhiannon resting, and she's not just tired, she is deeply, dangerously fatigued.
And this is where it all connects back to that universal decline. Even those simple enchantments, calling the cougars, it tires her in a way it wouldn't have just weeks before.
Bryan remembers with a shudder how she nearly died fighting Thalasi. And not from a spell, but from her own sheer exhaustion. It was as if she threw her own life force into her magic to win.
So this is our first real evidence that magic now costs something more than just energy. It costs a literal piece of the user's vitality. She's drawing on her own life, and that well is running dry.
Precisely. And while our heroes are dealing with this fatigue, the darkness is regrouping. Let's talk about Hollis Mitchell, the Wraith.
Right. With Thalasi's army scattered, Mitchell is now his own agent of chaos.
And he is an absolute horror. He's not just a ghost. The sources say he's half of this world, half of the realm of death. His substance is a shadow blacker than the darkest hole.
He can absorb physical matter, and he feeds on the horror and life force of his victims. He's basically death-given form.
And he has that weapon, the scepter, this hollow-headed mace that flicks off these black flakes. And they don't just kill, they burn the white powder and melt deep enough to stain the very ground beneath it.
It's a weapon of pure contamination.
And we see him testing his power on 3 of King Benedor's scouts. It's just for him to confirm his own absolute power. He lets one of them, Clouster, throw daggers at him.
They just disappear into him.
Sail right into the blackness. Physical force is completely useless. Mitchell just revels in their fear. He shatters Clouster's skull, and the resulting screams are so intense they echo across the river and unnerve the entire Kelvin army.
It's psychological warfare.
It is.
Yeah.
And this moment gives him strategic clarity. He realizes he needs to go west to Talas-dun. He declares, "I am King Mitchell."
This is a huge development. He's not going back to serve Thalasi.
Not at all. He's going to confront him to serve as servant if Thalasi were still the more powerful, as master if not. He's planning a coup.
Which, ironically, creates this major weakness for the forces of evil. Thalasi, who thinks he's secure in his fortress, now has to deal with this internal existential threat.
Exactly. Mitchell isn't a conventional enemy. He's a creature of death who has literally been torn from the clutches of death itself. This internal power struggle is about to erupt just as the good guys are trying to get their act together.
So this looming evil versus evil battle is happening against an even bigger backdrop, the slow, agonizing death of magic.
Right. And this section of the source material isn't just lore, it's the foundation for everything the wizards do from here on out.
We see it first through Rhiannon, right? She's worried her magic isn't pure because she wasn't trained by the colony.
And we should probably explain the colony. They were these celestial beings who essentially brought the age of magic to the world. They were like its guardians. Rhiannon, lacking that direct pure training, feels herself weakening with every spell.
But the deeper truth is, it's not just her.
No, it's everyone. All magic is tainted now. The huge magical conflict that established the 4 wizards in the first place. It came at a cost no one anticipated. They drew too heavily on the source.
It's like the world's magical bedrock is fractured. The sources are explicit. For all the older wizards, Brielle, Ardaz, Istal, and even Thalasi, they all suffered a personal loss with each expenditure of magical energy.
They were spending their own life force. And this suddenly explains Thalasi's paranoia. He was always hesitant to use his own magic, even on a lowly talon, because he knew the truth better than anyone. He was hoarding his vitality.
So if it's that bad for the Masters, for Rhiannon, it's exponentially worse.
She is literally killing herself with every protective charm she casts, and she doesn't even fully realize it.
And the implication for the world is just staggering. Avalon itself, the magical forest of eternal spring, it's a creation of magic.
Right. Rhiannon even whispers her fear, wondering, had the colors of Avalon begun to fade? This isn't a metaphor. The physical world is reflecting the magical decay.
Against this backdrop of decline, we have the pure, raw rage of Belexus Bakovar.
The Prince of Rangers, the greatest warrior. But he is completely consumed by vengeance for Andovar's death. The text says his rage blinds him, makes him focus only on what was and not what is.
And his sister, the witch Brielle, sees this as a huge danger.
She does. She's afraid it's threatening his soul, making him vulnerable. And his goal is impossible anyway. He can't hurt the Wraith with his sword. It just passes right through him. He's tactically impotent.
So Brielle does something incredibly dangerous. She uses her reflecting pool to summon Aaron, the specter of death himself.
And this conversation is it's universe-defining lore. Aaron confirms that Morgan Thalasi has defeated even me.
He defeated death. How?
By merging his soul with the sorcerer, Martin Reinheiser, and mastering the undead, it was an insult that death cannot tolerate. And this creates this bizarre, temporary alliance.
Because Aaron wants Mitchell back.
Exactly. The Wraith is rightfully mine, as he says. Mitchell's existence is an affront to Aaron's dominion. So Aramon tells Brielle what she needs. He reviews the solution.
No weapon.
The only weapon that can hurt a being of shadow. Brielle shows Belexus an image of it. A sword of shining metal edged in diamonds, glowing with an inner light, hidden in a dragon's lair deep in the Crystal Mountains.
And Belexus, driven by pure vengeance, doesn't even hesitate. He's going. Today.
No questions asked. He sets out alone, but this quest quickly turns into this odd couple road trip. He's joined by Ardaz, the Silver Mage.
Ardaz, one of my favorites. He's one of the legendary wizards, but he just seems so scattered.
And his entrance here is just priceless. Belexus, on edge, accidentally shoots him out of the sky while Ardaz is flying as an eagle.
Wait, why was he flying as an eagle?
He was wearing an enchanted hat to keep his head warm. It's pure absurdity, but it's the perfect counterpoint to Belexus's grim determination.
I love his tried wit. Can no what? Can no beans?
Right. But despite the rambling, Ardaz instantly gets it. He agrees to the quest, saying it's more important, I dare say, than all three of us put together. He understands the cosmological stakes.
But the party gets a third, even stranger member.
The ghost of Jeffrey Del Giudice. He's just floating around the mountains, confused, recovering these flashes of his old life. The submarine, the Holocaust, meeting Collet and Brielle.
And this ghost becomes the pivot point for the entire emotional core of the story.
Absolutely. Because he has this huge revelation, he realizes through these fragmented memories that he is Rhiannon's father, conceived 20 years ago, one night with Brielle.
And the moment that memory clicks, it sends out these magical waves. Mitchell, the Wraith, had heard Rhiannon's name and recognized it from his own world because he was Del Giudice's former companion.
So suddenly, for the Wraith, hunting the witch becomes intensely personal. He hates Del Giudice more than anyone.
And Del is in this paradoxical state. He's insubstantial, he can pass through stone and trees, but that makes him the perfect scout. Untouchable, invisible. He's the spectral guide this quest desperately needs.
So you have the Grim Warrior, the Mad Wizard, and the Ghost Father all heading into the mountains to find a dragon and steal a diamond sword.
You can't make this stuff up. So Belexus and Ardaz, guided by Del, are now deep in the Crystal Mountains, and they find something completely unexpected.
They do. They find a hidden culture, the Architect tribe. These are short, dark-skinned people led by a man named Okin Baloki. They speak with this choppy lyrical dialect that Del recognizes as Caribbean.
And Ardaz, of course, remembers spicy food and yells, Cajun.
Of course. And their origin story is just incredible. They're descendants of children who survived the Holocaust of the Old World. And they weren't guided by magic, but by ancient texts, specifically a book called The Architect.
So they're engineers, not wizards.
Exactly. They built these massive, elaborate tunnel complexes to survive. And here's the best part, the most amazing piece of counter lore in the whole story.
What's that?
They made the diamond-edged sword.
Wait, what? They built it. not some ancient magical forge.
They built it. They called it Puya Cambi, after a warrior who is killed by what they call gargoyles, which are actually talons.
So the one weapon capable of killing a creature of pure shadow was made with technology, not magic.
It's a fundamental shift in the narrative, isn't it? The age of technology is already asserting its power over the dying age of magic.
That's incredible, and they're not mad that Belexus took it from the dragon's lair.
Not at all. They see him as its rightful wielder, almost a messiah figure. They insist that the only way he can repay them is by using Puya Cambi to make it sing in battle.
So he has the weapon, but just as he gets it, the focus shifts back to the outside world, and the news is dire.
Rhiannon has been captured. Mitchell ambushes her, exhausted and unable to sustain her protective spells, and flies her toward Talas-dun. She's the bait.
And what about Bryan?
Bryan was laid low by Mitchell's mace in that fight. He barely survived, crawling back to Avalon near death, suffering from this deep, unnatural cold from the Wraith's attack.
Which triggers this staggering act of self-sacrifice from Brielle.
It's monumental. Brielle, already weakened by the universal decline, heals Bryan by taking his pain and the life force wound onto herself. She spends a week near death to save him.
She almost dies for him.
It's a testament to her love for her daughter and the man she loves, but it drains her, possibly permanently.
And the news of Rhiannon's capture, it becomes the ultimate rallying cry.
It galvanizes everyone. King Benedor throws off his kingly robes and joins his men, working double shifts to finish that bridge in 2 weeks. His personal sacrifice gets it done.
And the elves.
Arian Silverleaf, the elf lord, is outraged. He leads 200 of the finest elven warriors out of Illuma, marching straight for the Brown Wastes. They aren't waiting for anyone.
And then there's the silent, vital sacrifice of Istal the White.
Right. He knows his conventional magic is too weak now, so he enters this deep, critical trance, locking himself away to call on the power of his source, the sea.
He's gathering all his remaining power for one single, overwhelming blow.
Knowing full well it will probably kill him. It is his final act of defiance against the end of his age.
So all these forces are converging on Talas-dun, but Bryan can't wait.
No, he knows stealth is the only way to get to Rhiannon in time. He slips away from the Rangers in the night and faces this terrifying challenge, a sheer 500-foot cliff face leading up to the castle.
An impossible climb for an injured man.
He nearly dies. His crushed hip is about to give out, but once again, Brielle is his lifeline. From hundreds of miles away, through her amulet, she transfers a considerable amount of her own life force into him,
saving his life and healing his hip right at the top of the cliff.
It's an incredible moment. Bolstered by that, Bryan finds his way in through a slop-chute door in the kitchens. He takes out several talons, including a grumbler named Fogump.
And his infiltration is just brilliant. He doesn't just kill them, he stages their deaths to look like an internal fight.
Exactly. He creates this perfect distraction, sending the guards searching the dungeons for a murderer who doesn't exist. And then he descends into the fortress, determined to find Rhiannon.
So the climax is set. Bryan is inside, the armies are outside, and Belexus has the one weapon that can turn the tide.
While Bryan is sneaking through the fortress, Belexus is on his winged mount, Calamus, acting as the battlefield commander. He's delivering intelligence to Benedor and Arian, coordinating their approach.
But he's still consumed by his personal goal, vengeance.
He confronts Mitchell directly at the strategic rocky arm leading to the castle. Mitchell accepts the challenge, but immediately cheats, setting hidden archers on Calamus.
And this is the moment. Technology versus shadow.
Belexus draws Puya Cambi. He strikes Mitchell, and the diamond edge doesn't pass through. It causes the searing, agonizing pain. The sword can sting the wraith.
Something no other weapon could do.
Right, and that sting is the critical difference. Mitchell is so focused on the duel and this new pain that he fails to notice the other new force coming from inside Talas-dun itself.
The ghost of Delgiadaishe.
The insubstantial father. He easily penetrates the fortress, finds Rhiannon chained and guarded by zombies, and reveals himself as her father. He gives her the final, crucial piece of intelligence. Thalasi is in a high tower, protected by a dark ward.
The Staff of Death.
The source of all of Thalasi's power over the undead. Rhiannon instantly understands. They can't just escape, they have to destroy the staff, or the war will never, ever end.
So Bryan and Rhiannon, guided by Dell, make it to Thalasi's tower room. And the Warlock is just supremely confident.
Arrogant, even. He thinks Rhiannon is just bait to lure Brielle out of Avalon. He has no idea what's coming.
The battle for the staff is brutal. Bryan charges, but is just blasted aside. It's all on Rhiannon.
And she is fueled by her resolve and the life force she got from Brielle, which manifests as this shimmering green globe around her. Just touching the staff wounds her soul, but she holds on.
This is where she transcends her limits.
Absolutely. Thalasi is momentarily staggered after hitting Bryan, and Rhiannon seizes the opportunity. She summons her own pure power, not the fading magic of the colony, but her own humanity, and creates a blade of pure light with her hand.
And she chops the staff.
She severs it. It cracks like shattering glass, and instantly living shadows pour out. These are Charon's minions, the agents of death that Thalasi had imprisoned in the staff.
And they are free.
And they are furious. They swarm the Black Warlock. He screams, "Charon!" in just pure terror as they drag him down through the floor, his body dissolving.
Thalasi's gone. But Rhiannon, holding the broken staff, has an impossible realization.
She can now command the armies of the dead. The staff's power recognizes her as its new master.
This is a breathtaking pivot.
It changes everything. She directs the thousands of zombies and skeletons to turn on the Talons. The entire battlefield is thrown into chaos as the undead horde attacks their former allies.
Arian and the elves just push forward, focusing only on the living enemies, realizing that Rhiannon just saved them from an unwinnable slaughter.
But victory comes at a terrifying cost. At the exact moment Thalasi is pulled into the void, Aielle the White unleashes his gathered power.
His final act.
He hits the cliffs, supporting Talas-dun with a mountain of water, an elemental force of the sea that shatters the fortress's foundation, reducing it to rubble. And with that, Aielle is gone. Ardaz feels it instantly, the loss of his brother wizard.
So the victory is absolute. But so is the sacrifice.
Bryan pulls Rhiannon's still lifeless body from the ruins. She spent everything, but then Del Giudice appears for his final service.
He reveals her soul was already claimed by Charon, but he, the ghost, pulled her back.
But his own time has run out. The Pollinae are calling him back to the higher realm. His job is done.
And he asks for one last moment.
One last moment of solidity. It's granted. Rhiannon, revived, touches his solid cheek. He hugs her close and promises, "We will meet again." And then his spirit just dissipates. The war is over, but the world is scarred forever.
What an immense, staggering price for that victory. I mean, the sacrifice of Aielle, the death of Thalasi, Del's departure.
And Rhiannon herself only survived because of the combined sacrifice of her father and her mother, Brielle, whose own life force is now so depleted she might never recover.
But the biggest implication, the universal truth that the sources just hammer home, is that the age of magic is forever ended. That era is gone. The source has been depleted, tainted, broken.
It's Thalasi's dark legacy, and the evidence is everywhere. Feats like Aielle moving a mountain of water with a thought are just. They're impossible now. The world has to adjust to this drastically diminished state.
So if the age of magic is over, what does that actually mean for Ynis Aielle? Did their sacrifice buy them peace, or did it just buy them the right to fight the next war?
And the sources are, sadly, very clear that it's the latter. The conflict immediately shifts. The existential war against Thalasi is replaced by a new, grinding military conflict against a new demonic threat. Best is Balzabar and his minions.
Goblins, giants, and these creatures called poweries.
Nasty, wicked little creatures. The war goes well militarily, but the after effects are devastating. Food shortages, displacement, uprisings. The problems shift from magical to socioeconomic.
And we're introduced to a new protagonist in this aftermath, Pony, who has just lost her husband in this new perpetual conflict.
And she questions the futility of it all. She wonders aloud, was such travesty and turmoil merely a reflection of the human condition, an unending procession of one battle after another?
And that really is the core thematic conclusion, isn't it? They destroyed one great cosmic evil, only to find that the underlying systemic conflicts of the mortal world are always there, regardless of magic.
That's the crucial takeaway. When the gods and wizards step away, the struggle just reverts to humanity's inherent flaws. And Pony, because of her new heroic status, is thrust right into the heart of this new, very mortal power struggle.
She faces these two competing demands. The Velican Church wants her as their new Mother Abbess, a huge deal for a patriarchal institution.
And at the same time, the crown offers her the barony of Palmaris, lands, titles, political power.
It's political expediency replacing magical destiny. The true power is now in public influence and loyalty, not spellcasting. Whichever side gets pony gains this immense influence over the common folk.
The world has fully transitioned from a reliance on cosmic power to a contest of political maneuvering, using symbols instead of spells.
So the final thought we're left with is, it's a grim one. The destruction of Talas-dun only cleared the stage for the next, maybe more mundane, but just as relentless conflict. What kind of fight begins when heroes discover their immense sacrifices only bought them time, not peace?
A world where you have to fight the demon and the church for control, that might be a colder, harder place than the world that had wizards.
A truly heavy thought to carry as we step back from this deep dive. Thank you for joining us. We will meet again.